All right, Alex says, "Hey Bradley, I noticed you have a canonical tag on most of your LLG site service pages. Do you recommend adding a tag to each service or location page, or not a big deal?" Yeah, I do. What the hell was that? Smells like there's a fire like right outside my door. I swear to God, forgive me, guys. I do recommend having a canonical because um, UTM tags and things like that can be added to URLs, and sometimes there can be like odd characters or sometimes depending on the page builder, like for example, on high level, like you have a home page of the funnel or the site, website or the funnel, whatever you want to call it. And so there will be two versions of the URL, depending on what you make the slug, but let's just say it's home. There's two versions of that URL that are available and can be crawled. And so what I recommend is because of you never know how people are going to like how links are going to be built to a page and things like that, if there's going to be tags added to all that. Point is, if you just add a canonical where it canonicalizes to itself, to the original version of the URL for that page. So with or without the trailing slash. And by the way, keep that in mind because I've seen a lot of SEOs that where the URL has the trailing slash by default, but they canonicalize to the non-trailing slash version of it. But when you visit the URL, the trailing slash is present. And so that ends up becoming like, again, that's conflicting statements, so to speak. And so you just got to be careful. But what I do is I just look at, depending on whether the trailing slash is present or not, I copy it and add that in as the canonical. With the LLG sites, it's all done just via custom value. Let me demonstrate this real quick because we do have time. So I just want to pull this up. I'll show you what I mean. Stand by. I'm going to go into one of my LLG sites. Just waiting for high level to load, guys. Give me 1 second. Anybody who uses high level, you know what I'm talking about. It's a pain in the ass sometimes. Not sometimes, usually it's a pain in the ass. All right, so let me go into here. We should look at, I believe, what's this one? All right, so if we go take a look at this, notice this is what I'm talking about. You see how this one, you see what I did, guys. We're just looking at the home page of the website, and you see how it's got the home there? But that's not what I want. I want the home page to resolve, and it looks funny because I have my screen shrunk in a little bit. But I want the home page to resolve like that, right? Not with slash home on it. But both of those pages are crawlable. And so what I do is if you take a look, now that I'm looking at the home version of it, if we look at this, you'll see the canonical is set to the non-home version of it. Does that make sense? So in other words, it's just as a way to kind of prevent any potential duplication issues and all of that. That's what it's for. So I recommend doing it. It's a very easy thing to do. Most SEO plugins will give you like decent ones, especially if you're using the pro version, will just give you an option to just check a box and then it will self-canonicalize to itself. And so you don't even have to worry about it if you're using WordPress with a decent SEO plugin. In high level, the way that I do it is again through custom values, right? So if we go into the edit page, I'll show you what I mean. Because we determine all of the page URLs before we even build the site, right? I already know what the page URLs are going to be. That's how we build the site, right? Is because we do it through a form input. So we basically submit a form within this high-level sub-account with all of the URLs for each of the pages on the site. And that builds the URL structure for the site, okay? So what I'm saying is since we already know what the URLs are going to be, and we build the site because we have custom values and we plug those URLs into the value of those custom values, right? So the short code is the token. The value is whatever that token is going to be replaced with, if that makes sense. So if we come in here and we look at the SEO metadata, we scroll down here to where it says links and tags, and you'll see right there is the canonical link. And you'll take a look at that, guys. That is the custom values.url_homepage. And so because of that, this is built into the template. So I don't have to go in and set canonicals for each of these pages or for any of them for the sites that I build with this template. Because all I do is upload the URLs or submit the URLs via a form input from this sub account, and it's automatically going to populate all of that. As well as take a look at this. If we go look in the navigation menu here, take a look at the navigation menu. You guys see every one of these are all done via custom values, right? So again, I don't have to mess with any of these. All I do is do a form input with the custom values. Let me pause the screen for a minute. I'll show you something else. Sorry, guys, I just got to get into another Chrome profile, and then I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Right here is the URLs. So this is what I'm talking about. If you guys can see this, zoom in on that a little bit. Here's the custom values, right? Those are the URLs. So we already know what the page URLs are going to be before we ever build the site, before the site's ever deployed. And so again, this is all done. We have a different sheet here. There's 9 sheets, right? And we collect the data in the sheets. We have universal images that are going to be universal for my sites. I'm just the question was about Canonicals, but I'm just showing you guys how, again, become more efficient. And I work in one industry, so we have a template that we deploy for all of our clients, all of my local lead gen assets, et cetera. We can modify those templates as needed for the individual client. That's fine. This is how I build all my sites for all of my tree care contractors. That's it. They don't get a choice. If they want a different type of a website, that's fine. They can go hire a web design company. I can provide them with instructions on how to structure the site, et cetera. That's fine, but I'm not building it for them. They're getting this. And I can modify this, colors, logos, add pages, remove pages, add services, remove services, whatever. But this is what they're getting. And if they want something else, that's fine. They can go elsewhere to get the web design done. I've got no problem with that. That's just not going to be me that builds it. So I'm just showing you guys, again, ways that we make it much more efficient, right? These are the images that are custom to each. There's 6 images that are custom to each site, but the other ones are going to be universal, at least for my local lead generation sites. For client sites, I ask them to provide their own photos, and then we make all of them custom to, use custom photos for that particular site. But anyways, you can see all of this is how we collect all the data, guys, and it's all done via CSV sheet or Excel file, whatever. And then all we do is let's go back over to high level, cancel this, cancel back. We're going to go over to sites, forms, builder, and you'll see I have the LLG site forms here, and there's a corresponding form for each one of those sheets. And so what we do here, just to show you, is if I copy this, I'm going to go to preview. And right here, I copy that URL, and we'll go over to here because this is, I don't know, this one probably doesn't have it. No, this one doesn't. This is one of the earlier ones. Let me show you one that does have it, though. Go back. Whoops, sorry. Pick one that's a later one that I've done more. Let's try that one. That one probably has it. Okay, you guys see this? It's not going to work for the, and I'm not going to, well, yeah, it's fine. I can still do it. It's fine. So let me show you this. I'm going to grab this. This is not going to be for the right site, so I'm not going to submit it. But you see how there's this URL params, like code or whatever here? Our support manager, Chris G, he did that. So this is for the LLG company data. So I would go to the LLG company data page here. And then what we do is once the CSV files have been completed, and I have VAs that do that, then all we do is open up each one of these forms for the corresponding sheet. So LLG company, right? And then we just take that right there and we append that to the end of that form URL and hit enter. And it's going to populate. I don't know if you guys saw that. It just populated every one of those fields with the data that was right here. You see, each one of these sheets has its own URL params code there. So that's how we build these sites. My VAs go out, I assign them a location, and then I go in and for each one of each one of the cities that we're going to target in the service area, and I put the city up here, right? And then in the LLG company data, I make sure that I put the county name in here or whatever, so that they have they know, like right here is county. I used a metropolitan area instead of an actual county for this one. This was a test. But anyways, long story short, I go in and I assign the location name, the county, and then each of the 5 cities that we're going to be targeting. I just put that right there. That's it. And then I leave the rest to the VAs. The VAs do populate everything else across through here. Well, this is universal to all my sites, so this never changes. The images, again, there's universal images, the ones, and I make a note of that over here, right? Universal or subdomain specific. right? Universal, subdomain specific. And so my team comes in and generates all this data, right? Prepares all of these sheets, and then they go in and they grab the pages or the excuse me, the form URL, open it up in the browser, and then you grab the URL params code, boom, put it on the end of the URL, hit enter, and it automatically populates that. And all you got to do is hit submit. And you do those 9 sheets, and then the site is 80% of the way built. Then it's just going in and adding content. And one of our members has been experimenting with having the content already present on the sites too, and then just tokenizing the content just as a test. It's not a permanent solution, but just to deploy that instead of the sites being 80% of the way when you submit the 9 forms, his sites are like 95% of the way because he's not going in and doing unique content for every site until he identifies which of the sites that he's deployed have started to perform well in search, and then he goes in and swaps out the content with unique content. If that makes sense. So I know that's not exactly what you asked. You asked about the canonicals, but I was just because it brought up kind of a way to automate adding the appropriate canonicals through the site build process, which is what I do with these sites by having all of that via custom values or custom value shortcodes, right? So last thing we'll look at very quickly, and then we'll jump back into questions. So again, by custom values, you'll see that we have everything is separated. Well, again, this must be an older account by folders. Let me give you another example. Come over here and I'll show you. That's all right. You know what? Because I don't want to get into high level in this account too. So we'll just wrap up for that. But hopefully that makes sense. Again, guys, it's a very efficient way to build sites. As far as canonicals go, it's a very easy process. If you're doing WordPress, use a plugin that's a decent one or get the pro version, and it will likely have that option to canonicalize the page URLs and post URLs to themselves, which will prevent any potential duplication issues and errors and that kind of stuff. All right. It's a good question. Moving on.